Okay, for my question, I want to ask you what measures can be used in your workplace to prevent any accident to employees and people around?
What measures? Uh, there's a lot. Okay. Okay. What measures? Okay. All this in one nutshell. Okay. We have confined space measures. We have working at height measures. We have electrical safety measures. And the list goes on. Okay, the list goes on. We have crane deployment measures. We even have worker, no, how you say? The worker is not feeling to work that day. He has issues at home, psychological measures. We have a lot of these things. But if you want to tell it to you in a nutshell, then what I go through every day is mitigation measures, as in warning letters, dismissals, which is the most what do you call that? The most undesirable ones, because we still want them to work. But if it's really difficult and we can't teach the boys safety, then I probably have no choice but to dismiss them. And then we have things where we supply equipment to them, like lifelines, fall arresters, whip arresters, uh, R clips, crim clips, what do you call that? PPE, all kinds of PPE, safety harnesses, helmets, rubber boots, leather boots, stuff like that. So basically what we supply. And then we also have those where mitigation measures in terms of what we do at site, like put up exclusion zones so that people don't enter. We have scaffoldings that have toe boards and outriggers so that the scaffolding doesn't topple. We have tool lanyards where the tools are attached to their hip, and if ever they falls from a height, it will not fall onto a person walking at the bottom. We have things like that. So, in terms of mitigation measures, there are 1,001. It kind of depends more as to what your challenges are for that day, and then you mitigate as per such. Like for example, even for chemical safety, we wear our rubber gloves and we have our dip trays. Let's say for example, oil drum, we cannot put it on the floor. We have to put it in a dip tray, and the dip tray has to be calculated to the extent of which how much oil that is going to drip from that drum will have to be contained in that dip tray. So the dip tray has to be big. So if you're going to have like 4 or 5 drums in one dip tray, you can imagine how big the dip tray is going to be, because we cannot have any of that falling onto the ground, onto Mother Earth. So yeah, these are the mitigation measures that I go through on an everyday basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Prakash.
Hi Nurul, how to identify hazard that what again? Occur. Probably. How to identify hazards that occur in my workplace. Okay, hazards are divided into two very broad categories. Okay, one is unsafe act, and the other one is unsafe situation or condition. Okay, so very simply put, unsafe act is human act, human negligence, human act, human carelessness, human recklessness. Basically, they are obvious, ignorant, or they're naive, or they just simply don't want to listen and they do something that it is dangerous. So we call that an unsafe act. An unsafe condition is that the situation itself presents a danger. Like for example, a manhole cover which is not there on the road, and then there is a hole right in the middle of the road. That is an unsafe situation, an unsafe condition. Yeah? An unsafe act is actually stealing that manhole cover. Okay, because that will leave that condition to be unsafe. Okay, so in terms of your question, how do you identify? Well, there are a few ways. One way is to simply me wearing on my safety helmet and my jacket and going and having random inspections. When I do random inspections, then I catch a lot of people doing both of these things, having unsafe situations. That is one way that I identify. Another way I identify is worker feedback. The workers themselves come and tell me, boss, there is a python there, there is a python, moving there, please address it for us. So worker feedback is also important. And then we have visual observations. Like for example, in a tunnel, uh, you have a vehicle that is going inside, let's say for example, a mini excavator, and then that mini excavator doesn't have a catalytic converter, meaning the carbon monoxide that's coming out from the exhaust is not contained. So the people working around the mini excavator have very deficient oxygen levels. So they cannot breathe because the aqueduct is only that big, the tunnel is only that big. So if there's lengthy amounts of carbon monoxide that's coming out, then they are probably going to faint. So visual observation of seeing carbon monoxide come out like that is also another indication how I identify hazards. And the last that I will say, which is not really a very good identification method, is to actually see people fainting or falling or hurting, or having lacerations, abrasions, injuries. Then only we suddenly realize that it is an unsafe situation. That is one that I will not follow because I would like to prompt myself to act even before that happens. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Prakash.
Hi, Nur Rafiza.
Uh,
How are
uh,
you?
you, I am fine. You may call me Fisa.
I may call you what again? Fisa. Hi, Fisa.
Fisa, yeah. Okay, my question for you is: will the hazard that occur will benefit or not all employees?
Let me rephrase that question. Will that hazard that has been resolved,
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
will it benefit other employees
or not?
or not? Okay.
Uh,
Uh, well, it will benefit employees who are in that particular work faculty. We all have a speciality. Like for example, myself, I can consider myself a tunneling specialist because our work is 60 meters below the ground, and we need to be very focused in our work, and our family needs to be the family and loved ones. They need to be, how should I say, supportive. Only then we can work. Only then I will allow people to go in and work. So hazards that are existing in the tunneling environment are very unique, are different. If I were to mitigate measures and if I were to resolve certain hazards that are in the tunneling faculty, the tunneling area, those people who are going to benefit are only the tunneling people. Those workers who are working at height, they are not going to benefit at all. So it kind of depends the kind of work that you're doing. It kind of depends on where you're working because many of us have so many faculties in the workplace. We have working at height, we have underwater, we have tunneling, we have on ground, but we have in vehicles, we have electrical, like I said, we have chemical. So there is so many types of workers, and many a times workers don't shift their perimeters. They don't move from one place to the other. If you can see foreign workers usually working at height with scaffoldings, they will be there. That is their job. They will not change and come and be a tunneling miner or a tunneling supervisor. So for me, since I'm an OSH practitioner, I will go one full round, meaning I will go through all the segments of my work career. So I'm a bit different because I deal with safety, so that's why I have to do that. But workers do not. So to answer your question, yes, it will help many who are doing the similar job because it will save them the pain, and it will save company what do you call it, time and the effort and the loss of man hours that we can preserve. But for others, I can't say. For others, I would say it is pretty much meaningless because they're not even in that job area. Okay.
Okay. Karishma, you continue with your question first.
Okay, Mr. Praka, I have another question.
Yes.
If you could make one safety improvement, what would you do?
If I could make one safety improvement, what could I do? Okay. Uh, I would like to do this. Every time when we leave a job, every time when we leave for a job, when we are together as a team, we have something called a pre-task. Okay, we have something called a pre-task where we stand together in a circle, and the supervisor talks about what is needed, what is to be done, what can be experienced, what are the hazards, what is our work, who will come and visit us, and what do we need. Basically, these are the things that we need to talk about, and then they will all walk in and do the work. That is